Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go! This is a story of how hate blinds you. I work in radiology. About 15 plus years ago, I was working with a radiographer X-ray tech called Smith. Smith had recently received 2 official warnings of duty, one for abusing the boss and one for abusing me. Smith was told to change their attitude and behave. Smith, however, went on a path of revenge that was endless. I was dying a death of 1,000 tiny paper cuts. Nothing terrible, but just lots of little things which I knew Smith had done, but I could improve. One Monday morning, one of the A&E doctors came over to complain about how poor the X-ray image quality was a couple nights ago. Smith goes over the roster board and sees my name corresponding to that shift. "You work that afternoon shift by yourself." Smith charges into the boss's office, demanding a full complaint process. Smith demands, since clearly the boss and I have it in for them, HR should run it independently. The boss tries to talk Smith out of it, but Smith basically says that they don't trust the boss to deal with me fairly. The boss tells Smith he will hand it over, but be careful of what you ask for. Apparently Smith was in quite a lather and so excited that they had got me. 2 days later, I was interviewed by 2 HR guys and an independent chief radiographer from another hospital. We go through each of the images and I agree the work is really poor. It's clear no one has actually looked too carefully at the paperwork with the X-ray images. The HR guys finally ask why you did such a poor work. I replied I didn't, and if they bothered to look on the online pay system, I had called in sick that day. In fact, Smith had done the overtime shift. They looked stunned. I reminded them I expected the same process for Smith. I also lodged an official complaint about false allegations made by Smith for this case. Apparently, Smith tried to stick to the roster, but they showed Smith their pay slip, plus they had signed off on all the images. While HR was deciding what to do with Smith, fire them or not, Smith had 2 more incidents at work and was eventually fired. Edit to answer some of your questions. 1. When Smith got fired, HR went to town and dug up every little bit of dirt on Smith so they couldn't claim wrongful dismissal. HR had a 3-step process in reviewing all formal complaints. First, interview all parties with an independent. Decide if there is a case and have HR tribunal meeting with union involvement, and lastly, make a finding. They were hopeless. I could write 400 pages about HR and crap that went down. I found out that the head of HR rose through the ranks over 30 years, starting as a 16-year-old who hadn't finished high school. Started working in the 1970s. HR had no access to RIs or PACs. The chief radiographer, who was independent, had no prior chance to review stuff. Merely an expert for image quality. The chief worked for the organization at another site, hence no privacy issue as we shared the PACs. 3. Use of radiographic markers? Always do. But Smith got caught using mine by me. Took it to HR, who told me Smith hadn't technically broken the policy. I purchased generic R and L markers after that, and so did have the staff. I also caught Smith eating my lunch, and HR told me Smith hadn't done anything wrong technically because I hadn't labeled my lunch. Come time to fire Smith and they were over this like a rash. 4. My boss was well aware of who worked and was happy to deal with it, but Smith wanted HR. My boss was more than happy to see Smith dig themselves an almighty hole. 5. Did Smith take bad X-rays on purpose? I don't think so. I think Smith's mental health was crashing at this point. The work reflected their mental health. I think Smith saw the complaints and was quite manic, and thought I will get OP. Smith simply had overlooked the overtime they did. 6. Oh, it was the worst time in my career. It was tough every day. I mean, really tough. So this starts on Monday, the 13th. is I receive an email from a VP not over my department. Or bad VP. I'm told that my team will be required on the 4th. I politely tell them no, that our team has scheduled this day off and people already have plans. My team is the IT team, and as many of you know, the IT team gets shafted every time it can get shafted by any company. So over the course of the week, I let my team know what is happening. I let them know I have been reaching out to higher ups to fix it. I also tell them that if their plans are ruined, I will make it right at work. Over the course of 3 meetings, it starts to look like things will not go my way. In response, I sent an email to the CEO of the company. All of my higher-ups knew that I was going to do this and said that I should do this as he's very family-oriented and that he would not allow anyone to work on a national holiday. Well, he is on vacation in the Bahamas until the 6th, but his assistant informed me that he would look at this after he gets back. Repeatedly slams head into desk. So I tell everyone that it will be work from home and that we will be setting my cell phone as priority in the call routing, meaning I will get most of the calls. To be honest, I was expecting almost 0 calls, especially since I was asked to send out a notification that IT support would cover the 4th of July. I never sent that email out. A day later, I was given another outrage. I was told in an email that my employees will be required to be at the office, and no one was allowed to work from home. They will be checking the door badge-ins to verify we were at the office. I asked why in an email, and they said that they wanted to make sure no one was playing video games at work. We normally work from home about 2/3 of the week, and video game playing is a normal occurrence at work. So I walked into the person's office, and after a very long conversation where she was losing the logic war with me, she told me that, "It's just IT, you guys don't have lives." No, I am not kidding you. This is exactly what she told me. I reported this to my VP who said, "I will take care of this. It likely won't be until after the 4th though. So get creative." I know this man well. We have worked together a long time. And get creative is code for corporate madness. I asked the person requiring us to be at the office if they cared if we had an office party. They said no, as long as it did not interfere with the call flow. Even suggested using my new company cards to pay for it. Pro tip: never tell me to go wild. At this point, it was Tuesday the 21st, and I let everyone know what's up, but that I have something planned. I asked who had things planned for that day. 2 people told me they were planning to shoot off fireworks with their family, but the rest were planning barbecues with friends. I wrote an email to the VP over my department and the bad VP. I tell them all that I let everyone know. We all were expected to work until 8 p.m. Monday. Per the conversation with the bad VP, I will be having an office party as a sort of apology to the guys and gals who got shafted by this decision. The bad VP replied again, "Thank you for your understanding. Also, yes, I would expect an office party if I had to work on the 1st of July as well. So, go wild and enjoy your time. Use your new company credit card if you need to cover a few expenses. Also, I should not have to remind you or anyone else, no fireworks or alcohol on company property." So now it's time to tell you about my office. See, a while back the IT team was moved from the main corporate office and into a smaller building by itself. It has a nice gaming break room, a decent-sized gym, and a full-on drink bar. Soft drinks, mind you, no alcohol at work. Out back is a big patio that crosses county lines as soon as you cross a small creek. A creek that just so happens to have a footbridge over it, leading to an empty field. I started making phone calls. Monday, June the 25th. I called up everyone into an hour early meeting that morning. I explained to them all that I will be making it right. I asked everyone to invite their friends and family to the office. No supplies will need to be brought by anyone. I tell them all that this will be non-alcoholic, but that I will be planning something for everyone. I told them to expect all the food to be provided and they don't need to bring anything. unless they want to bring some fireworks, i.e., they don't have to spend a dime. The fourth came, and the entire day we did absolutely no work. No tickets, no calls came in. Well, 7 calls did come in, but from the same person, the bad VB. She was calling to make sure we were manning the phones. All of us were playing video games or watching movies. 6 p.m. rolled around and everyone was told that the food was ready. People were expecting hot dogs, hamburgers, maybe a bratwurst or two. What they got was a full-on barbecue feast with pizza and other foods. There was smoked brisket, spare ribs, smoked sausage, smoked turkey, both kinds of tater salad, coleslaw, green beans with bacon and onion, potatoes au gratin, pizza from 2 different places, excellent hamburgers, and bratwurst hot dogs. On the dessert side was cake, very good cookies, 4 different kinds of pies, and about 2 pounds of fudge. Families and friends started showing up at around 6:15-ish. Some brought alcohol, but I told them that they would need to leave that in their cars, as I was not that crazy. Some were not too happy about that, but agreed, as it was a free dinner for random strangers. So let me set the scene for you. I'm out there with all the calls routed to my cell phone, and everyone is just having a good time. We have a ton of people there just enjoying the fun night, chatting about random stuff, eating the food, and occasionally lighting off some sparklers or throwing firecrackers into the stream. It's not stoked and only 1 foot deep. My VP, not the bad one, mind you, showed up with his family and brought some water balloons for the kids and man-children. Around 8:30-ish, it's getting dark and people want to shoot off more than the simple sparklers and firecrackers we have been using. The VP over the IT department had everyone cross a footbridge, over county line and off company property mind you, and we set up a big wooden board, using it as our launch pad. We fired off what we had for an hour or two, and sort of just hung out for a little while. At around this time, people were tired and ready to head home. I told people to take home leftovers within reason. We all clocked out at 8 and no one left until about 10:30. The bad VB did call once more while we were out back at the party. It was 7:50 and she called asking for a status update. My exact words were, "Well, you were the only one to call us today. The rest of us are on the back of the patio enjoying the 4th of July shindig." She simply acted like my boss and said, "As long as no alcohol or fireworks are on company property, I don't care." We ate roughly half of the food catered. The rest was taken home. A small group volunteered to stay behind to clean up, including my VB. We had a funny conversation about how this will make waves with the bosses, but he said he had my back and asked me how much this cost. I just gave him a sideways look which made him laugh. Tuesday morning, I submitted the expense report to my VB. This email would inevitably make its way over to the bad VB and up the chain to the CIO of the company. It would be a bad idea to give out the exact cost of the party, mind you, but I can tell you that because of this 4th of July party, new rules were put into place. Any expenses of over 4K or more must be approved by the direct supervisor. Also, VB over the department, and the full expense report must be sent to the financial department for review after the fact. Hint: the party cost over $6,000. The barbecue was the most expensive part. I did not order from a low or mid-tier place. The place I ordered from has consistently been on the top 10 in the DFW listing for the last 30 years. I ate at that place so much I made friends with the owner. The best barbecue I have ever had. The pies and cakes were custom made by a bakery, and the cookies were made by a boutique cookie place. I have 10 to 12 packs of Coke, Coke Zero, DP, DP Zero, Pepsi, and Pepsi Zero. I bought 5 pepperoni, 5 sausage, 5 cheese, 2 Hawaiian, and 3 cheeseburger pizzas from one place, and nearly the same number from another place, excluding the cheeseburger ones I subbed out, those for a different specialty pizza from the other place. The burgers were from an excellent burger place that did catering. I know that owner well. He brought his kids for the night of fun after he heard what was going to be happening. He was also the one who brought the bread dogs, as he recently added those to his menu. This was the most expensive office party in the history of the company. The only things more expensive than this were some business meetings that the CEO rented private rooms in high-end restaurants for. As for the CEO, he was outraged. Not at the cost of the party, mind you. He knew that the party would not have been necessary if people had been allowed to go home. He was outraged that IT was the only group required to work on that day. When I submitted the logs showing how we received no real phone calls, no service requests, and that we basically watched movies and played video games during our shift, he had heard enough. He apparently sent out a scathing email about work-life balance and the importance of our holidays to every upper management. It was kind of funny as people wanted me to get into trouble for what I did. But the reality is other departments have done similar things in the past, just not on the scale that IT did. The bad VB was admonished quite effectively and sent me an apology email. I forwarded it to the team with a strong hint to not reply. Then, my VP let the CIO and the CEO know about what the bad VB said. Quote, "You guys don't have lives." The bad VB did actually confirm she said it in a meeting with her EVP. It did not go over well. I have never heard people yelling in an office meeting like that before. The CEO of the company came to our office and yelled at her. Update: she was not at work today, so I kept digging around and asking around, and guess what? She did get fired. In a past work life, I worked at a small newspaper where corporate insisted on paying me hourly, despite the job not being capable of being done in 40 hours. That, and anyone who knows the news industry knows that news happens more than just 9 to 5. It was implied that you just work when needed and do not miss deadlines. I did that for years. One week I ended up working over 100 hours, lots of huge breaking news stories, and I was the only person working at that newspaper. I asked for 20 hours overtime pay, having worked 60 hours of overtime that week, and my regional manager refused because it hadn't been priority authorized. So I told him from then on I work exactly 40 hours, and I did not care what news happened after. I'd cover it my next work day. About 6 months go by, no major news missed, but a few things were later than they should be. Then another hell week hits. Several major car crashes, a school bomb threat 10, Friday about 4 p.m. a murder. I head out to the murder scene, get photos, talk to an officer, and I'm told an update is coming at 6:30 p.m. So I write up a very short piece with the information I had by 4:30. And at 5 p.m. I go home for the weekend. Readers and bosses reached out several times over the weekend. Readers I told we'd have an update on Monday, and that no one was scheduled to work the weekend. Bosses I ignored until Monday. He tried to yell, and I pointed out that it would have been unpaid overtime and it wasn't approved. By Wednesday they offered me a raise and put me on salary. I accepted, but left the job a few months later. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.